Michael Thomas is one of, if not the best wide receivers in the NFL, as in 2019, he had an NFL record 149 catches. He set the record for the most catches in the first 4 years of an NFL career with 470, and also has over 5,500 yards and 32 touchdowns to his name. But back in the 2016 draft, he fell to the middle of the second round, and there were 18 offensive players drafted before him. And with a player as good as Michael Thomas is, there are plenty of teams that are kicking themselves in the rear end for missing this elite of a player. There were receivers taken before Thomas, and to say the least, some of these teams that took receivers absolutely whiffed and were stuck with draft busts. In this video, we're going to talk about all of the 18 offensive players drafted before Thomas, but before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. The first two players of the draft, not surprisingly, were quarterbacks, and they were Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. In those players' 4-year careers, Goff has led the Rams to a Super Bowl appearance, and Wentz led his team to a #1 seed before getting injured in the Eagles' Super Bowl run in 2017. Goff has thrown for 87 career touchdowns, has back-to-back 4,600-yard seasons, and will be the Rams' starting quarterback for the next decade, barring injury. Wentz, on the other hand, has 97 career passing touchdowns, was the frontrunner for MVP in 2017, in his 2 seasons with at least 27 passing touchdowns. Both quarterbacks were great selections and will probably be their franchise's quarterbacks until they are in their mid to late 30s. Ezekiel Elliott was the third offensive player taken, and what a player he has been for Dallas. He's made the Pro Bowl 3 out of 4 years, was a first-team All-Pro in his rookie season, has led the league in rushing yards twice, and already has 48 total touchdowns to his name. He has been a great player for America's team, despite the narrative of teams shouldn't pick a running back in the first round in today's league. Zeke was a home run pick for the Cowboys. And next was Ronnie Stanley, who is an offensive tackle for the Baltimore Ravens. Stanley, like all other offensive linemen, usually don't get called during the course of a game unless it's for a penalty. Despite that, he has been a tremendous pick for the Ravens, as in 4 years, he has made the Pro Bowl and was a first-team All-Pro player during their magical 2019 run. Both Elliott and Stanley were home run picks for their franchises. Next was tackle Jack Conklin, who was selected by the Tennessee Titans. Conklin seemed like an absolute beast after the 2016 season, as he was a first-team All-Pro in his rookie season, which is incredibly rare. However, that as of now was his best season, as he hasn't been named to an All-Pro team since, and has never been selected to the Pro Bowl. He played a big role in running back Derrick Henry's success in the past 2 seasons, as he rushed for over 2,800 yards. The Titans ultimately declined Conklin's 5th-year option, and he became a free agent after the 2019 season and is now a Cleveland Brown. Next, and we're the 6th offensive player taken, was tackle Laremy Tunsil, drafted 13th overall by the Dolphins. If you guys remember, draft night there was a video that got leaked about Tunsil, which included a gas mask, and that was a big reason he fell as far as he did. However, he did not let that ruin his career, as since he has become a Pro Bowl tackle and was even traded for multiple first-round picks to the Houston Texans, proving he could overcome one mistake before his NFL career got started. Every player taken so far has had good NFL success, and how long they sustain that is another discussion. But the first 6 offensive players taken have either been Pro Bowlers or have been selected to an All-Pro team. That stops here, as the 7th one taken was when the Browns selected wide receiver Corey Coleman. Corey was a consensus All-American in his final year at Baylor, and only lasted 2 seasons with the Browns before they parted ways with him for and this can't be emphasized enough, a 7th round pick. The Bills eventually cut him, and then he was picked up by New England, who cut him just 6 days after signing him. Corey has played in the Giants since, and in 3 years, because he missed the 2019 season due to a torn ACL, has totaled 61 catches for 789 yards and just 5 touchdowns. The next 2 offensive selections, which are 8 and 9 out of 18, were offensive linemen. The Lions at pick number 16 selected Taylor Decker, who has started 55 of 64 possible games. He was named to the Pro Football Writers of America rookie team in 2016 and has been a solid player for the Lions. They exercised his 5th-year option, and I would imagine they will be looking to get a long-term done deal soon. Ryan Kelly was the Colts' first-round selection. He started 51 of 64 career games and became a Pro Bowler for the first time in his career in 2019. Kelly has the fortune of playing next to Hall of Fame talent guard and Quentin Nelson, and those two together are a nasty duo and will be for quite some time. Kelly was a good selection, and him and Quentin will cause problems for opposing run defenses for the next decade. After the Kelly selection, there was a run on wide receivers, and it started at 21 overall with Will Fuller. Fuller in his time with the Texans has been injury-plagued and has been spent in the shadows of star receiver DeAndre Hopkins, who as we know is now a member of the Arizona Cardinals. Fuller has played in 42 of 64 career possible games and has totaled 156 catches in 4 years, which equates to 39 per year. He certainly hasn't been a draft bust like other receivers in this class, but he also hasn't been Michael Thomas either. Fuller has 16 career receiving touchdowns to go along with his numbers. The Redskins then selected Josh Dachshund, who wasn't the biggest draft bust in this class, but can still be considered a draft bust relative to his production and draft position. He's only played in 34 of 64 possible games and is no longer on the team he was drafted by. He has 2 500-yard seasons and has 81 career catches for 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. Dachshund is now a member of the New York Jets after a short stint with the Vikings and of course the team that drafted him, the Washington Redskins. Next, and this pains me to say, as most of you know, I am a Vikings fan, but the Vikings selected Laquan Treadwell. Laquan is by every definition a draft bust and had an outstanding 1 catch through the entirety of his rookie season. Laquan, give him credit here, he had 20 times the production in his second season as he did in his first in receptions and over 13 times the production in receiving yards as he finished with a whopping 20 catches for 200 yards in 2017. He is now a member of the Falcons and has 65 career catches for 701 yards and just 2 touchdowns. Offensive tackle Taylor Decker was who the Lions selected as 16th overall. He has exactly half of the touchdowns Laquan Treadwell has through 4 years of each of their careers. And now we have one of the biggest draft busts in recent memory, and it kind of gets swept under the rug outside of the Colorado area because people just don't remember the selection, but it was Broncos quarterback Paxton Lynch. Paxton played for the Broncos for just 2 years before they straight up released him, which says something that no team even wanted to trade a 7th round pick for him. He is now a backup on the Steelers and has played in just 5 career games and has thrown just 4 career touchdown passes. A first-round quarterback that is a draft bust by every definition. The next 2 offensive selections are quick, as they were both linemen and neither play on the team that drafted them. Guard Joshua Garnett was the 49ers' first-round pick, and he has played in just 22 career games and has made just 11 starts. He was a part of the final cuts in 2019 and didn't play the entire season for any NFL team. The Lions then signed him to a 1-year deal in February of 2020, and whether or not he makes their roster is to be determined, but that's where he is as of this video release. The next offensive selection was tackle Germain Ifedi of the Seattle Seahawks. He is the typical play 4 years for a team after getting drafted and then moves on to a new team. The Seahawks did not pick up his 5th-year option, which says enough about how he is as a player. He has started 60 career games, so he's not a draft bust, but he's also not a great first-round selection by any means either. We have just 3 offensive players left that were selected before Michael Thomas, and all 3 are at minimum solid NFL players. The first is Hunter Henry, who had a very good rookie season for tight ends, in which he hauled in 36 catches for 478 yards and 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns for a rookie tight end is very good, as there's very few that do that in today's NFL. Aside from Gronk, I don't think any have done that in the past 10 years. He then followed it up with a 579-yard campaign in 2017, and had accumulated 12 total touchdowns in his first 2 years. Unfortunately, Henry tore his ACL in 2018 and caused him to miss the entire year, but he followed that up with career high in catches and yards in 2019 with 55 for 652 yards. Henry is a good tight end, and the Chargers agree, as they placed the franchise tag on him, making him for the 2020 season specifically a top 5 paid player at his position. The 17th offensive player selected before Michael Thomas was another receiver, and it was Sterling Shepard. Sterling certainly hasn't been a bad player throughout the first 4 years of his career, but he hasn't been a star either. He has been about what you would expect in a second-round pick. He has over 240 catches in 4 years, over 2,800 yards, and 17 touchdowns to go along with this. The lowest total receptions he's had in a season is 57, and that was in a year where he played in just 10 games. Sterling is far from a draft bust, but he's also very far from a second-round steal. I personally think Sterling Shepard is about average when it comes to NFL wide receivers. And the final offensive player taken before Michael Thomas was when the Titans selected Derrick Henry. Henry, as we all know now, was a large reason the Titans went to the AFC Championship game this past year, and is an absolute beast of a running back. He didn't have a very good first 2 years in the NFL, totaling just 1,200 yards combined, but he has more than made up for it since. Henry has 28 rushing touchdowns combined in the past 2 seasons, and should be an exception to the rule of running backs getting paid. While he hasn't been an Offensive Player of the Year award winner like Thomas has, he he still has more career playoff wins than can't guard Mike, with 3 compared to 2. Henry is a great player, and so is can't guard Mike, and I'm not saying which player I would rather have, but they are both good second-round selections for each of their respective franchises. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you're still watching, I appreciate the time out of your day. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.